Hello there, beautiful. Have you ever found yourself in a state of deep depression and things seem beyond all repair? I'm 33 years old and I've gone there many times myself. So I want to share my experience with you in hopes that this video makes its way to you when the time is right. It is my intention to convey a very special message to you, as our planet is going through a powerful shift at this time, and our hearts may feel heavy through the process. Thank you for being here. You are so needed. So, at some point in all of our lives, we experience feelings such as grief, sadness, trauma, or really just lack of any kind. And we are all responding differently to these things that feel very painful to us. Sometimes we may find ourselves in a state of depression. We have no desire to eat, sleep, smile, get out of bed, or even see the light of day. Or there's very subtle signs, such as feeling agitated, irritable, anxious, frustrated with simple, everyday tasks. We might unnecessarily blame ourselves for stuff going wrong or feel unworthy at times. And usually we're doing all of this on autopilot without even noticing how harmful our own train of thoughts have been over the past several moments, hours, days, years. Now with this whole ocean of emotions we're dealing with, is it actually possible to extract anything positive from the negative? Some people turn to drugs or alcohol to numb the pain in the beginning. Then they become addicted, and 10 years later, they're still running from their trauma because it was never really addressed or forgiven within themselves. It gets put on the back burner. And because it was never healed or tended to, it has no other choice than to become suppressed deeply within. So until we deal with this unfinished business that's always playing in the background, then we cannot move on and live our best life with a holistic sense of peace and certainty. Not with all that boiling underneath the surface. No. So what do we do then? Well, a great start would just be simply hearing these words to put things into perspective and in front of the conscious mind, because in turn, we begin to acknowledge the big elephant in the room that we know very well. We turn our attention to that which we've been brushing under the rug. And we're all moving along at our own pace. No two experiences or paths are going to be identical. So we must dig deep and ask ourselves, is this causing enough unhappiness in our life to prioritize and investigate just a little bit? Are we even aware of these mental blocks that may be stumping or slowing us down? And do we see any value in mastering our automatic thinking? If we have absolutely no intention of addressing the underlying issue and ascending into a more empowered state of living, then life will always seem to happen to us instead of for us. We adopt a victim mentality, and at a very unconscious level, we attract more things that we don't want. And then outside circumstances are to blame when it's actually internal work that needs to be done here. It's always going to be internal work when we're speaking of emotional pain and suffering. When we identify and embody different ways of perceiving pain, we make ourselves available for new things to be born, because now we've made the space to allow for our own personal expansion. Life puts its hand out to us and asks for our permission to transcend and blossom into her greatest version yet. Something quite dreamlike, rare, and very uncommon in today's society, where all good things come to you. And things that seem bad to others around you, no longer weigh so heavily on your state of being or affects you the way that it once would have. New thought patterns start erupting, and you become a bit more crystallized due to this massive shift in perception that you've experienced, and resilience takes on a whole new meaning for you. If you can, I want you to think of a memory right now that has hurt you in the past. Any memory at all that you can think of that has caused some type of emotional hurt for you. Big or small. It could be a little frustrating moment that you had earlier today, or something that has been on your mind for a while that keeps nudging to grab your attention. Remember it clearly and try to pay attention to how the body feels when you think about it. Tune into all of your physical senses. Slow down. Replay it in your mind. Now, turn your attention to the labels, the ideas, and the meanings that you are giving to it. Take your time as you're thinking about your own personal outlook on what has taken place here. What are your opinions and definitions of this event? Does it feel in any way like betrayal, comparison, resentment, or as though something is missing, something is just not right? Now I want you to think way back to the starting point of this whole dilemma to see if you can notice any deep-rooted beliefs that may be present here. Was something triggered and then activated within yourself due to a limiting belief that you've experienced or grew up with? Maybe homegrown beliefs, cultural, religious, morals that you adhere to, values that you live by, otherwise you are deemed unworthy by yourself and others. Sit with this for a moment. Get a true sense of what this could possibly be rooted in. Where is this all stemming from? Why do you feel the way you feel about this thing that you experienced in the past? If you can scale this all the way back and really go inward, what you will find is that somewhere along the line, you had an idea that was rooted in lack. And the worst part of all was that you believed it to be true. There are two voices that pop up in your head on a daily basis. I like to visualize it as the good wolf and the bad wolf, but really anything works. It could be the little devil on one side and then the little angel on the other shoulder, like we see in movies. Sometimes the bad wolf is more predominantly listened to by you because of our upbringing or lack of knowledge around this. But literally, our perception is everything. It's the name of the game. It's how we operate here on Earth in our physical form. Emotions arise based off of the stories we are telling ourselves in our head. How we define things is the sole cause of our emotions. It's the cause of our elation and joy, as well as our sorrow and pain, just alike. Emotions are not caused by external events in our physical space or reality, but how we are choosing to define what we are perceiving, what we are looking at and experiencing. Notice any contractions in the body and what emotions are beginning to come up. Try to be still and then become aware that any sad feelings in the body are only allowed to enter into our experience directly after we have mustered up a negative concept or idea in our minds. Notice how the physical body responds to thoughts. Even the thought that you had about what I just said. The body may either feel pain or joy based off of the fabric, flavor, and content of our thoughts. In some cases, some of us may even feel triggered or resentful if anything related to these certain subjects are brought up. This is why it's important to first identify the cause, the root, the heart of the problem, in order to put it to rest once and for all. The moment that we have the thought that life is not as it should be, we feel disconnect from the inside out, and resistance flows through the body. The point is that thoughts turn into real life tangible things that we can touch, hear, see, smell. And when we are not balanced and aligned in our thoughts, first above all else, we become stagnant and not quite living to our full potential or igniting the fire within us that wishes to shine forth. It is up to us to do this for ourselves. Let's say you witnessed domestic violence as a child. How do you think your life is affected by that in the long run? Could you possibly mirror some of that behavior with other people? Become disengaged in school, overly quiet or shy? Have trouble focusing, feel unworthy? Would you have a difficult time allowing new, strong relationships to grow as an adult? Or let's say someone you care about and hold a certain level of respect for always tends to respond to you based off of limiting beliefs within themselves, since that's what life has proven to them over and over again in their own personal experiences. And they are trying to protect you from repeating a vicious cycle. If you had an idea that felt fulfilling to your core, you knew this was what you wanted for your life, but people in your close circle express their own paranoia, doubts, or fears and sort of push that on you unknowingly, did you surpass all of that within yourself and carry on with your dreams? Even if it was radical, like moving out of the country or quitting your job? Or did you eventually give in and feel silly for even thinking that you could do such impossible things in the first place? That you really are limited in resources, time, or money, and these things can never actually happen for you in this life. We then unintentionally misalign ourselves with what it is that we wish to manifest. We've positioned ourselves in a way which blocks us from receiving what we want, and are no longer in alignment with our desire or following our own inner guidance and wisdom, our gift from God, all because of lack-based beliefs that we've accepted and taken on as our own truths. How would it make you feel at the depths of your core every time you are reminded of this trauma over, let's say, an entire lifespan? How many times would you feel sadness or discomfort about the situation? How many times did it affect your happiness in the now? And an even bigger question to ask yourself is, do you think that the person or thing that hurt you is experiencing that same sorrow, grief, and sadness? If not, it may seem logical to give back to the universe that which was never yours to begin with. You never own the pain. You are just identifying with it so much that you believe it is now a part of you. But it doesn't have to be latched on. You can release it and thank it for what it has awakened within you. It does have value, but it can only be unlocked and discovered by you, the viewer, the perceiver, and witness of it all. It takes so much more energy to push against the things that we don't want than it does when we're in the flow state. Because when we're in the flow state, we are making ourselves available to receive such remarkable things with very little effort. This is where mankind has made a grave mistake. The fact that we're programmed to think that we must sacrifice blood, sweat, and tears in order to get anything worth having in life, that things have to get worse before they get better. And we must go through absolute hell, bent over backwards, prior to feeling good, happy, or fulfilled. In some cases, yes, it takes everything we've got to push through and see positive results. But 9 times out of 10, we're making it harder on ourselves than it needs to be. We're not flowing with the natural rhythm of the universe. We're pushing against it like it owes us money. Like as if it's on an opposing side and we're all alone on the other end. Or just like the fact that we think we need to work a job we're not satisfied with for 30 to 40 years prior to retiring and settling down to enjoy life's sweet little blessings. Everything leading up to that point is just one huge blur. But you can finally relax and breathe because you are no longer working to live. You are just living and following your joys freely because you are no longer burdened with an overwhelming amount of responsibility. Racing to the finish line to get it all done, flipping the bird to the other cars in traffic because you're late to work or to drop the kids off at school. You've got your deadlines to meet, and what you're doing must be more important. We're so busy and stressed out that we don't even smile when making eye contact with a stranger anymore. It's more of a glare nowadays. We're all so rushed that life just flies right past us while we weren't even looking up. But that doesn't have to be you. You can switch the path that you're on whenever you'd like to. Whenever you see the value in that, and then live a life of freedom and abundance. There is a better way to go about this. We are changing history right now as we speak. So can't we also start a butterfly effect and focus on transforming our traditional ways of thinking? Isn't it our responsibility right here and now to do this for our future selves? Will humans be so wrapped up in this mess 100 years from now? Change literally starts with us, each one of us. Nature responds to energy and mirrors our behavior. I'm sure you've heard of the phrase, when it rains, it pours. This is because we are not consciously aware of the energy we are emitting and blindly throwing out into the universe. So when things consistently go wrong, we don't see that as something we've played any part in and feel like it just is what it is. Life is unfair and we've got to just deal with it and get our licks in where we can. Now, just as we've programmed ourselves off of lack-based beliefs, can't we just as easily reprogram the mind to work in a more favorable way? Is it possible to realign ourselves with our creative energy flow? Well, of course it is. It's just a matter of us attuning ourselves to that. And it's much simpler than you may think. We can follow the things that make us happy to be alive at any point, at any age, under any circumstance or condition. I don't care if you're sitting in a jail cell with only 4 walls and a ceiling right now, or if you're on the most radiant mountaintop breathing in fresh air. We can all tap into abundance and see positive results wherever we are in life, whenever, however, whoever, all ages and all walks of life. So, first acknowledge that there is something which needs to be healed. Notice how the body responds whenever you are reminded of it. Then do some investigating. Pull your attention back to your own personal outlook, your beliefs and ideas around the subject at hand. Remember, positive sensations in the body are an indication of alignment. Feelings of dissatisfaction is always a result of misalignment, no matter how it looks or sounds to anyone at any time. This is how we can distinguish if we are on the right track or not. We can use a tug of war analogy here. Close your eyes and visualize the center point in the game as the center point of your being. your heart space, which puts you into the flow state and allows for creative energy to exist. The harmonic part of you that allows life to flow effortlessly. When either side of the rope tugs and pulls you farther apart from your center, the body feels discomfort. When you are aligned with the center point of your being, you feel relief, joy, excitement, bliss, and the path that you're on becomes crystal clear to you because you're basing it on how it is that you feel in any given moment. No need to identify different types of emotions any longer. The only thing to pay attention to is if you feel good or if you feel bad. That's it. Then you are able to investigate the thought that you had, which caused the emotional suffering to begin with, and release it back to the universe, back to God. Once you have so much momentum going in one direction, such as uneasy sensations in the body, it might be challenging to detach from what you are focused on and decide to change your path in the midst of the heat. But it can be done. You can choose another path, and it is possible to strengthen your ability to do this over a very short period of time. It actually requires very little effort once we become aware of it and have decided to take action. You will notice how natural it all feels. We should make a promise right now to our higher self that we are going to strengthen and slow down our personal thought patterns. Listen closely to the things that are popping up nonstop in your mind. Catch yourself in the act and decide not to give these thoughts so much credit any longer. Become the observer. Take notes if you have to, but don't own any of it. Try this periodically throughout the day when you remember, especially in the midst of the heat. What you will gain from this will blow your mind, and more than anything I could ever even attempt to put into words. It must be experienced and embodied firsthand. So, find the most easeful thing to do when you are feeling discomfort in the mind and the body, whether that means standing in the shower for a couple of minutes under the cold water, working out, meditation, breath work, or lying on the grass outside. Do it. It's okay to take a second to recollect yourself and replenish the mind, even for just a few moments when you notice that the rope has pulled you farther apart from your center point. One of my personal favorites is sitting down, shutting my eyes, and then simply listening to the world around me. Dropping labels and meanings to all things, and just observing the sensations in the body as they come into my experience and drift away. So, follow your intuition, trust in your instincts, because this is your higher self attempting to communicate with you and guide you down a certain road. Act only on what your heart speaks to rather than the mind. Be patient with yourself always. Love yourself, beautiful one. I know that I do. Goodbye for now.